Greetings, YouTube. Today I'm going to talk about the book that I finished this past Monday. It was written by Brock Yates, and it's titled Outlaw Machine, Harley-Davidson, and the Search for the American Soul. I don't think it can be really argued that the Harley-Davidson isn't an American icon. I rank it up there with Coca-Cola, the myth of the cowboy, and maybe the GI. There are things that just people associate with America. And this may be possibly the newest of those things, but it's still something that if you say Harley-Davidson, people are going to think they're red, white, and blue. Now, I was looking for a book that dealt with the history of both the machine itself and the company that produced it. And in that regard, this book is a success. It was a decent read. I had a good time. It got me all the basic information I needed, and it definitely whetted my appetite in some regards, and I may go back at some point and try to find other information in other books. But Yates also goes a lot into the mystique of the Harley-Davidson, like why do Americans love this machine that is anachronistic? It's not efficient. It isn't the best device out there for its goal in life. Its role can easily be filled by many other kinds of motorcycles that are going to be faster, more powerful, far more efficient, and much more reliable. And yet, the Harley-Davidson sells out year after year all over the world. I mean, there are even people in Japan who buy Harleys, trick them out to look like highway patrol motorcycles, wear highway patrol uniforms, and then drive around at like 5 miles an hour like they're in a parade. Usually in couples. That's just weird. Then again, it is Japan. But what is it about this bike? And he gets into that. He talks about when the whole motorcycle club phenomena really began to come together after World War II, with a lot of disaffected veterans who had gained some experience with motorcycles and just didn't feel like they fit in. Of course, just ne'er-do-wells that fell into it because it was the risky, the cool, the edgy thing to do at the time. So, in that regard, it was also a success. And again, it was a good read, and I enjoyed it. But the thing is, Mr. Yates brings something else to the book, something I think that he really should have left at home, and that is his politics. They keep popping up page after page, and quite frankly, they're more than a little conservative, more than a little jingoistic, and a little more than the occasional waving the flag kind of thing. I found them really annoying. I found it annoying the first time he dipped into his politics. I found it annoying the last time he dipped into his politics. He speaks kindly of those that oppose the 60s. He views the 60s, and in many ways, to my mind, as a mistake, even though great gains were made. And the part I find most frustrating about this is that on one page he'll talk about, in a very derisive tone, about the 60 movements, and the next page talk about how much was actually done to improve the lives of minorities and women. He'll talk about jingoistic political traits, and then the next page use the word jingoism in its proper context and point out how it's bad. So I can't quite figure this guy out. And while he seems to be utterly self-aware of what he's doing, he still does it. He speaks with admiration for the Reagan years. That just is dumbfounding to me. You know, it's something that just didn't belong in the book. I read lots of books on politics because they're about politics. I read books about military history where you can't avoid politics. There are topics that you cannot escape when politics are concerned, and I expect them to be there. This was not one of those books. There was no reason for his politics to show up. Now, for example, I wasn't aware that the people that founded the Harley-Davidson Motorcycle Company were in fact anti-Semites. Didn't know that. Kind of depressing, but it had an historical context, and it belonged in the book. It really didn't get into their politics so much as just the fact that they were anti-Semites, and touched upon even very vaguely why they were anti-Semites, but mostly just the fact that they were, and it affected their business decisions. But his politics just didn't need to be there. And like I said, they were. So I wasn't happy about that. So if you don't mind politics sticking their head where they don't belong, this is a decent book that deals with the history of the company, the machine, and the mythology that's grown up around it. So in that regard, it's a thumbs up. But the politics, it's a thumb down. So I definitely say that this book is a mixed bag.